With me now from Washington is political reporter for the Washington Post, Amber Phillips. Thanks, Amber, for joining us.
Hi.
Well, I want to say, there's a saying that as Ohio goes, so the nation goes. Looking at the electoral breakdown right now, how important is Ohio for Trump, and what does he offer as far as appeal for the Buckeye state?
Sure, it's a must-win. It's a must-win like any number of swing states. Florida comes to mind, North Carolina comes to mind for Donald Trump, because Hillary Clinton is so far ahead in so many traditional swing states like Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Virginia, Colorado, that Trump has simply got to win some of these big states to even have a fighting chance. Ohio, kind of like Wisconsin and that whole area up in the Midwest, is a more white state, a less educated state, more working class, and that tends to be Trump's base. But right now, we're not seeing evidence that they're pulling through for Trump in enough numbers. It's an uphill climb for him in Ohio, like it is pretty much everywhere on the map. I mean, at this point, we're talking about whether Hillary Clinton could win Arizona, whether Texas should be a toss-up state. It's that bad for Trump right now.
Yeah, these are states that have always been pretty red. I want to ask you, though, speaking of Hillary Clinton, her press secretary, Brian Fallon, has called First Lady Michelle Obama their not-so-secret weapon. We know Michelle Obama is very good at firing up the supporters, but who in particular is she trying to target in these last final days before the election?
Sure. African-American voters. It's plain and simple. I think the Obamas and Hillary Clinton would love to recreate the emotion that voters felt in states like North Carolina in President Obama's 2008 election, where they came out in droves and they helped Obama win North Carolina when it didn't look like he could in the primary. Hillary Clinton is now standing side by side with the Obamas, hoping that they can sort of recapture that same kind of sentiment. And like Hillary Clinton's campaign said, Michelle Obama is pretty darn good at it. We have a unique position where the outgoing president and First Lady are incredibly popular right now among Democrats, and they're using that to every advantage they can.
And on the other side, Amber, when you're looking at Trump's surrogate, someone we haven't really seen out much, especially after the Republican convention, is Donald Trump's wife, Melania. She's also expected to make some appearances on the campaign trail soon. In fact, we have a soundbite. Let's listen to this.
We will see. My priority is my son, Barron, our son, Barron. And I support him 100%, and I'm there for him every time he needs me. And I might join him. We will see.
She's actually going to make 2 or 3 speeches. Oh. And I will tell you.
Made some news right there.
Okay. It is. She's amazing when she speaks. She's an amazing public speaker. So she's agreed to do 2 or 3 speeches, and I think it's going to be big speeches, important speeches.
Amber, is there a way of telling what kind of impact Melania could have on the campaign trail?
Well, first, I thought it was funny, and if you hear that clip and you hear Melania go, "Oh, I am going to be giving some speeches."
A bit of surprise there on her part, too, huh?
Right. She's sort of stayed out of the campaign trail, especially since the convention, and she gave a convention speech that had snippets of Michelle Obama's convention speech. But I think Donald Trump's campaign recognizes just how important it is to have his wife out there, because he is down in the new Post ABC News poll by 16 points among women. If that holds, that is the largest gender gap that any president has had since Bill Clinton in '96. I mean, he has got to do something to close that gender gap, and I think he's looking at his wife right here and saying, well, she can at least try and get out and give some speeches. I don't know that she'll be a major factor on the campaign trail, but it is I think it's a crucial part of their strategy right now to get her out at least a little bit.
I read your piece, Amber, in the Washington Post this morning about down-ballot fears for Republicans and how the main issue might not actually be Trump, but voter enthusiasm itself. Walk us through this, and what are the concerns for Republican Party leaders right now?
It's keeping them up at night, quite frankly. There are a few factors going into it. All roads lead back to Donald Trump. For one, you have Donald Trump talking about how this is a rigged election. Polls show that a majority of Trump supporters, like in the 80% range, believe that. If it's a rigged election and you don't think your vote matters, it's tough to see how you get out and go vote. That concerns down ballot Republicans who really need that sort of energy and enthusiasm to keep them afloat in states where Democrats, polls show, want to come out in droves and vote for Hillary Clinton. The second factor is, like we talked about at the top, Donald Trump is not doing well, and it looks like he could lose. That is the narrative. We're talking about 12 days out, which is, in politics, a relatively long time. If you're a Trump supporter, or if you're undecided, or if you're a voter who doesn't really like Hillary Clinton, but you're not really sure who you're going to vote for, it's hard to get out and vote when you think that the Republican nominee is going to lose and the election is over. That really worries down ballot Republicans.
So it's almost like his words about the election being rigged might backfire when it comes to down ballot candidates.
They're really worried about that.
And one thing that Republicans are campaigning on is the Clinton Foundation. These newly released hacked emails show the concern over the conflict of interest between Clintons and their own foundation. There was one email. This particular email notes that former President Bill Clinton didn't have to sign a conflict of interest policy, was paid by sponsors, and has gifts from them. What position does this put Clinton's campaign in?
Well, it's tough to say, because I think if this were any other election, it would be a very, very bad position. It feeds into this narrative that voters, polls show voters have had throughout this entire campaign, that the Clintons are part of this elite circle who only look out for themselves. That being said, we're in an election where Donald Trump is disliked by 2/3 of independents, by 1/4 of his own party. We're in a world where Donald Trump's 2005 words, in the tape, are now out and part of this campaign reality. I could see how it could fire up the Republican base, who really doesn't like Hillary Clinton, but I have trouble seeing how this kind of news breaks through in a moment where Donald Trump is so unpopular across the nation.
Amber Phillips from the Washington Post newsroom. Thanks, Amber, for joining us.
Thank you.